They say the true adventurer seeks not a destination, but a reckoning. If that's true, then I found mine in the deep Amazon. I am an enthusiast, someone who finds thrill not in luxury, but in the places maps fear to mark. I seek out routes so unconventional, so risky, they're whispered about only in the darkest corners of the internet. That's where I found Marco. Marco was an organizer, a fellow seeker who specialized in near-impossible wilderness excursions. He had curated a trip into a vast, uncharted section of the Amazon rainforest, a 50-kilometer trek where official records claimed no human, let alone tribe, had ever ventured. The promise was simple: pure, untamed wilderness, psychological exhilaration. 7 of us, including Marco and myself, met at a remote jungle airstrip, ready to test our limits. We were loaded into a helicopter, the rotors slicing the humid air. The world outside the windows dissolved into an endless emerald canopy. Then, suddenly, we were hovering. The ramp dropped, and we were set down onto a small, sun-dappled clearing. The roar faded as the helicopter ascended, leaving us alone in the crushing, primeval silence of the jungle. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and unseen life. The psychological excitement was palpable. We were 7 strangers united by a shared thirst for the extreme. We adjusted our packs, took 5 minutes to savor the silence, and plunged into the undergrowth. For the first few days, it was everything we expected: a brutal, beautiful grind. We encountered fauna that looked lifted from a mythological text, laughed at Marco's dry jokes, and recounted tales of previous near disasters. It was camaraderie forged in shared exertion. Then, the jungle yielded. We stumbled upon a path, or rather, the absence of obstruction. It wasn't cleared by machete. It was simply a distinct, narrow corridor where the dense vines and towering trees stepped back, leaving a clear line of sight, though the forest floor remained soft earth and leaf litter. Marco, excited by this anomaly, led us forward. It felt like being admitted into a forbidden section of the world. We walked for hours down this improbable path, gradually losing altitude and, subtly, drifting off Marco's planned route, drawn by the ease of travel. We took a quick break, ate some dry rations, and pressed on, fueled by curiosity. And then, we saw them. The first sculpture stood on a mossy mound. It was impossible to tell what it was made of. It felt like hardened resin or obsidian, slick with centuries of rain. From the front, it resembled a gaunt human figure with an oversized head and impossibly long, dangling arms that almost touched the ground. It was unsettling, clearly non-natural, yet ancient. As we walked past, one of the team, a woman named Ilara, let out a She had turned back to look at it over her shoulder. "Wait, look!" We all turned. The same sculpture, viewed from a slight angle, had completely changed. The long arms had morphed into thick, short legs. The oversized head was now a massive, dome-shaped torso. It looked like a stunted rhinoceros crossed with a forgotten species of tortoise. We stopped, utterly dumbfounded. We walked back, circled it, and the form shifted. Viewed head-on, it was the long-armed man. Viewed from the side or back, it was the low-slung beast. It wasn't an illusion of light. It was a tangible metamorphosis. We photographed it from every angle, marveling at the bizarre physics. The mystery was fascinating, but the path kept calling. Soon, these metamorphic sculptures were not a unique discovery, but a common feature, appearing every few hundred yards, each one shifting between a strange humanoid form and an unrecognizable beast. What began as wonder slowly became normalized, an accepted anomaly of the jungle. The path eventually terminated, abruptly. We found ourselves in a narrow, vertical fissure carved into the earth. Sheer, high rock walls, choked with vines and jungle greenery, rose on three sides. It felt like a tunnel, and we were at the blind end. Marco checked the map. We'd followed the path too far. We had to backtrack and find a way around the rock face. We turned and walked back. We walked for what felt like the exact distance we had come. But instead of returning to the open jungle, we again hit the same high, vine-choked rock wall. Confusion quickly turned to panic. We had walked in a straight line, but were back where we started. We tried again, cutting an intentional diagonal line off the path, thinking we'd missed a turn. We walked until exhaustion, and still, we hit the exact same dead end. We were trapped in a geographical loop. In desperation, one of the team members, tearing at the vines covering the cliff face, found it. A small, dark, almost perfectly circular hole low down on the rock. It was tight, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Marco decided we had to investigate. We sent the thinnest man, David, through. We tied a stout climbing rope around his waist. The agreement was clear. 3 tugs meant the path was clear. 1 tug meant pull him back. David's light disappeared quickly into the dark, narrow passage. We waited until the rope ran completely slack, signaling he had reached the other side, or the end of the line. We waited. No tugs. Marco yanked the rope once, then a second time, signaling him to come back. Nothing. We pulled together, all 6 of us. The rope was absolutely rigid, as if tied to the bedrock itself. We couldn't retrieve an inch. Shocked, we agreed that David must be stuck, and we needed to find out why. We sent Ilara in next, tying her to a second rope. The outcome was identical. She disappeared. The rope ran slack, and when we tried to retrieve her, the second rope also became impossibly stuck, unyielding. The same thing happened with the third person. We were frozen in horror. 3 ropes lay taut, disappearing into the small, dark hole. 3 members of our team gone. The remaining 4 of us were a nervous wreck. We retreated again, trying to climb the cliffs, trying to find a route out, but the looping path kept bringing us back to the same terrible bottleneck. When we returned for the final time, the 3 ropes were gone. The consensus was desperate. The others must have somehow gotten out and removed the ropes as a signal for us to follow. What other explanation was there? We had to follow. We sent the next 2 men through. I was the last one remaining. I was also the largest. I stripped off my pack and tried to squeeze through the tight, unforgiving opening. I pushed, twisted, and pulled, but I couldn't get my shoulders past the narrowest point. I was stuck. I yelled down the tunnel that I couldn't fit and begged them to send someone back for me. A voice, I think it was Chloe's, cried back, "We will! Just wait!" I waited. Night fell. The jungle became a symphony of unnatural sounds. I built a small fire near the hole and slept in fitful bursts. I woke up the next morning, alone. No one had returned. Panic seized me, a cold, consuming terror. I turned and ran back down the looping path, desperate to find an exit. I ran until I was dizzy, until I stopped, gasping for air. And that's when I saw them. A group of people, organized and clean, walking toward me down the path. I staggered toward them, sobbing, trying to tell them everything. The loops, the statues, the hole, the ropes. But the anxiety and exhaustion made my words an incomprehensible mess. They looked past me, avoiding eye contact, treating me like a raving drunk. One by one, they filed past. The last person was a woman, mid-30s, with calm, steady eyes. As she walked by, I grabbed her arm. "Don't," I choked out, forcing the single word. "Don't go that way." She stopped. She looked into my eyes, and I had the profound, unexplainable sense that she wasn't just hearing my words, but seeing my experience. She was frozen for a moment. Then she spoke, her voice low and steady. "I'll help you get out of here." We walked back the way I had just come. But this time, after only a few hundred yards, the path opened not into the endless jungle, but onto the small, familiar clearing where the helicopter had dropped us. The helicopter, which was ascending, suddenly stopped, tilted, and returned for us. We were flown back to the base camp in silence. I stumbled off the helicopter, completely disoriented, but alive. I turned to thank the woman, but my eyes caught something on a nearby pole. A public notice, yellowed and faded. It was a missing persons poster. It detailed the disappearance of Marco's expedition team, 7 members who vanished months ago on a risky route through the Amazon jungle. The list included Marco, David, Ilara, and the other 3. My name was not on the list. I stood there, paralyzed, unable to reconcile my memory of being the last man standing with this horrifying realization of a distorted timeline. A few days later, the woman called me. We had exchanged numbers at the base camp. "Thank you," she said, her voice strained. "You saved me. I think my group is also gone. They disappeared months ago on that same path. They're still looking for them, too." We hung up, 2 survivors of an impossible voyage. I still recall every moment of being trapped in that cave, the agony of thirst, the horror of the whispering darkness. I know what I saw. I know the rope was stuck. I know I waited until morning, but I also know the woman's name was Chloe. And I know, with chilling certainty, that she was never on my expedition. She was the anchor of another team, lost in another loop. And somehow, I had pulled her out of the abyss of time. I haven't been able to travel since. The question haunts me. Did I escape the loop? Or am I simply the only one who woke up in this reality, leaving my friends trapped forever between a changing statue and a silent hole in the wall?